It's Easter, and millions of people around the world will be remembering the death and resurrection of Christ. Christians remember a life of surrender and service, lived out in faith, hope and love. And whether you're a believer or not, certainly a life of significance in global history. And we're strangely drawn to significance, whether to the hollow or to the holy. A number of years ago, I was invited to hear a talk. The speaker's subject, 10 people who changed the world you probably never heard of. Catchy title, I thought. I could only remember one of them. Perhaps that says more about me than the oratory skills of the presenter. The speaker spoke at some length about a man called Frank Buchman. I was captivated. Clearly inspirational, and at times he was clearly controversial. He believed that the world could be remade through changed lives by applying moral standards of honesty, unselfishness, love and purity to individual and collective decision making. And his method? Threefold. Firstly, he taught the vital importance of having a quiet time, intentionally drawing ourselves away from the external in a prayerful manner, allowing these standards to probe our motives, attitudes and actions, and listening to what insights emerge from within. Secondly, accompany others as we discern the application of these moral probings and insights into our real life decision making. Finally, to take action, or as I call it, to take one step, believing that change must first start with us. Oh, and did I mention that he believed that this was God-inspired, whether one was a believer or not? These transformations, according to Buchman, had the ability to extend beyond individuals to every aspect of national and international life. Some may cry, thank God. Others, this is hopeful naivety or sheer nonsense. But don't dreams, visions, ideologies, hopes, whether material, spiritual or both, call into question the status quo and inspire us to reach for what could be? Is not hope and purpose more inspiring than existential despair and nihilism? Believe me, I've tried both and prefer hope and purpose. I, for one, have an appetite for inspired solutions and concrete outcomes for this spinning planet I call home. One example of this remaking the world in practice was the connection Buchman had with Robert Schuman in the late 40s and 50s. Schuman was a political thinker, activist and foreign minister of France. The Second World War had recently ended and Europe was reeling from its devastation. It is reported that Schuman was deliberating whether to stay engaged with politics or enter the monastery. In one of his meetings with Buchman, he asked him what he should do. Buchman turned to him and asked, "What do you think in your heart?" After some time, Schuman eventually threw up his hands with a smile, saying, "Of course, I must stay where I am." That he did, and he played one of the key roles in the Franco-German reconciliation after the Second World War. Significant. Thank God, or thank goodness. Buchman was tapping into the values of the Christian and Abrahamic faith for sure, but also universal values of faith traditions and the human impulse for thriving, which is way beyond simply surviving or stopping war in relationships or on the battlefield. But can we have universal values? I hope so. But if not, we need to find some we can agree on that work for the sake of the world, her people and her planet. And all without reducing humanity to a homogeneous mass devoid of culture and difference. An impossible task? Maybe not. Look at the success in post-war Europe, albeit with its challenges. The alternative, more conflict, forced change. Well, with upwards of 50 active conflicts around the world, force barely beats an ideology altogether. Recent history attests to that. And Buchman was adamant that only an ideology can change an ideology. Anyway, even when conflict ceases, agreements have to be made, new ways of acting and reacting settled upon. So where do we start? Well, if we take inspiration from Buchman and figures like him in history, it starts with us, whoever we are and whatever we do. Is there anything in me, my position, my approach that needs to change under the microscope of honesty, unselfishness, love and purity? Truthfully, that can be quite a challenge at times. And yet, I am wanting others to change, to do the same. The old adage, no pain, no gain, springs to mind. We must take one step to listen inwardly and then to each other. Maybe we add to our efforts in conflict resolution and negotiations a quiet time where we apply this approach into our existing methodologies. Who knows what inspiration would emerge? It's not the first time this approach has been used to great effect, as testimonies from politics, business and personal conflicts can attest to. At the very least, we may open up new levels of dialogue, which may even lead to change. Whether we are spiritual or secular, we understand the significance that changed people change people. And if that is true, what we are being changed by and for is of utmost importance. So what would it mean for us to take time to apply honesty, unselfishness, love and purity to every areas of our lives, personal and professional? To listen and respond to our heart as Schumann did. This Easter, regardless of whether we find ourselves in life, if enough of us take one step, there is no reason to think we can't remake the world. Now that would be significant.